Hey all, Scotch Tape here, and welcome back to another super epic, awesome new video. Now, recently we just got a new Nintendo Direct the other day, and I was personally really hyped to see some fucking Salmon run, dude. Like, when I saw that trailer, bruh, quality, man. That's how you know Splatoon 3 is gonna be a fucking difference. Now, this is my first time doing this sort of thing, but today we're going to be analyzing and going in depth into this trailer for Splatoon 3's Salmon Run Next Wave. So hopefully, you all enjoy that, and if you do, I might do another analysis of another game, maybe Breath of the Wild 2's trailer if that ever comes out. I hope. But yeah, if I do tend to miss anything, or if I do get something wrong, don't hesitate to leave that in the comments, and I'll know for next time, and maybe I'll learn something new from this. But I hope you all enjoy, and let's get rolling. So right off the bat, this is already giving me some pretty sick vibes. Now, looking at this very first part of this trailer, this kind of just reminds me of when you're flying into Warzone and you see like your whole team with you. And that's what I kind of like about this sort of, intro. And I hope they actually keep this in the final part of the game, because if they go a bit more cinematic with the intro to, a Salmon Run mission, that would be so sick. Just like watching you and your three other friends or three other people joining you just flying to the map itself. And that's even better than just, jumping from a ship that's just, floating out in the sea that's taking you to the spot. Because, you're just flying in Splatoon 2 and already seeing this, cinematic, little cutscene that plays before a match starts. That's just phenomenal. And I think that's a really good touch to keep. Now, if you remember from Splatoon 2's Salmon Run, when you finally popped onto the map, there would be this little spot that kind of looked like a little respawn point. But in this trailer, it doesn't seem to be there. And I think I know why. And let's think about it like this. In the very first look of Splatoon 3, we would see that now you have a mobile respawn point. And excuse me, and now you would actually be able to choose where you want to respawn after you die. Now, because of these new respawn points in Splatoon 3, there's no need to have a little central hub for where you're gonna jump back into. I think now what they're going to do is after each wave, they're going to pop down into the ink like they would in Splatoon 2, and they're going to pop back out with a swapped weapon. And so I think that's a lot clever and a lot better than just having to go back onto one point. And it'll certainly make it a bit faster to prepare for another wave. Especially if that wave is in the lowest level possible. Because it does take a little while to get down there, depending on where you are on the map or what you should be preparing for. So I think that's a really nice touch and some good attention to detail there. And now, from the looks of it, we finally have a first look at the brand new interface for Splatoon 3. And I'd have to say, it looks a bit more cleaned up than Splatoon 2's in a lot of aspects. So let's dive in and let's take this step by step. Now, on the top left corner where you would usually find wave information and what your quota is, we can now see that it's a bit more cleaned up than before. Now, it looks great. It looks the same as before. But now look at the icons for the squid and the inkling and octoling. And now they have a bit more depth to them. And before they used to be all flat and design. But I think that this little sleek new kind of design that they have kind of mimics what Mac OS is Big Sur update kind of brought to the table, which is that little, like, little 3D kind of look to it. And I think that's pretty clever. Now, to the top right corner where we see the special meter, we can now see that they kind of changed the special meter a bit. Now, we'll get into the special weapon and everything a bit later on, because they do show a little glimpse of what that new special weapon is. But as we can now see, we have the same thing. The meter looks a bit more cleaned up. And then on the bottom left, things stayed the same. We still have the basic messages of this way and booyah. So not much has changed here, but it definitely looks a bit more polished and cleaned up than before. Even the reticle looks like it's gone through a little bit of a change here too. So overall, I think the new UI is looking pretty good. I'm looking forward to it. Now, let me stop being a bit nitpicky and we can continue this little analysis. So here we have our very first look at a brand new boss salmon head called the fish stick. Now, I thought these motherfuckers were crafty at first when I started playing Salmon Run. But this shit is on a whole nother level. Like, they really brought a fucking pillar to the map. They flew it in, like, as if they called an airstrike onto the map. And they drilled it onto there so that, you'd have to intricately climb up and, destroy it. Now, I think this is pretty clever because it really makes use of the climbing mechanic with the, with the whole squid form. And, this is really, really clever. I like this. It's a bit menacing too because, they're all shooting ink at you. And I thought this was really clever. Fucking why they designed something like this, I'm not exactly sure, but overall this is pretty good. Now, the new Flipper Flopper boss salmonid is fucking terrifying. Like, just as terrifying as Moz. Like, where you'd have to, like, focus on the ball bearing that would just pop up beneath your feet. Now, that shit was scary, but I think the Flipper Flopper takes it to a whole nother level. However, I do have a slight theory on his little attack here. That little ink ring, I think, could possibly be a new special weapon to be used for Turf War. Now, I know what you're thinking, but we already have the splashdown. What the fuck do we need this for? That's the thing. I think this new little ink ring technique is an enhanced version of the splashdown special weapon. Now, of course, there is a possibility that, it'll get fucked up. Kind of like how the bubbler works in Splatoon 2, how if enemy ink gets sprayed onto a bubble, it'll shrink down to size and just pop. Now, I think that was pretty good because had the bubbler just been resistant to enemy ink, that would have been fucking broken. If the Flipper Flopper's little attack was, turned into a special weapon for Turf War, for, regular multiplayer gameplay, I think that would make for a really good enhanced version of the splashdown. I think a ring of ink would be sprayed in your color, and it would be up to you to the little ink ring would be made there, a little spot right there, and it would trap your opponent, and it'd be their job to spray it back into their color. Now, if they do end up spraying the little spot around them, their color, and you dive down with the splashdown kind of technique, it would stun you if it failed. However, if it worked, it would do a devastating amount of damage. It would not only just splat, but it would also take over one giant spot in the map. And I think that's what a special weapon for based off of the flipper flopper would work. And if it does end up being a special weapon, that'll be fucking epic, but also really terrifying at the same time. So that's my thoughts on the flipper flopper. And I think, you know, if it probably will end up being an enhanced version of the splashdown. If not, you know, it'll probably just end up being not a special weapon. Because I really thought that was the case, mainly because, you know, the boss salmonid with the fucking stack of pots using the stingray, and then the other one using the tentamissiles. I thought that was a nice touch, how they used special weapons being incorporated into the multiplayer mode, the regular multiplayer mode. So who knows, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but I think it would be a nice touch. They did it, boys. They finally brought back a feature that should have been fucking brought into Splatoon 2 in the first place. Yeah, that's right. You can now finally throw eggs at your teammates, or maybe even at the fucking basket, the golden egg collector. So, pretty cool. Fucking love it. I've been wanting this shit for so long because I've lost so many damn salmon run matches because of that little, like, last 10 seconds of trying to swim over to a basket and not being able to put it in on time. But yeah, you know, egg throws. Not much else to say about it, just that it's been something that everyone's wanted. So, a lot to unpack here, and let's address the blatantly obvious of this part of the trailer. This shit can get wild! Now, I don't say that lightly. If you've seen anyone play Splatoon 2's Salmon Run and see how fucking wild it can get on the third wave, you can bet it's gonna get just as wild, maybe even wilder here in Splatoon 3. Now, as we kind of look at it, we kind of see a lot of familiar Salmonid return. You know, we see, you know, the usual regular ones running around. We see Maz, fucking the new, you know, one, and then the one with the little guy just steering it from behind. You know, we see a lot of it, and it's fucking crazy. And then we get this nice little shot of, like, this brand new map that we get of, you know, this new Salmon Run, which I'm not sure what it's called, but it looks crazy. That's for sure. This is probably what it looks like in, like, the lowest depth. I'm fairly certain. If not, then this is probably either the middle or the bottom. But this is a fucking huge map in comparison to the other ones. I mean, look at that. That is a big-ass map. And, you know, looks like we're... Considering these Salmonid from Splatoon 2 are returning, I'm fairly certain that the special weapons from Splatoon 2 are going to make it over to Splatoon 3. I don't think they're going to do the same thing they did with Splatoon 1. And I say that lightly because, you know, Splatoon 1 relied on the gamepad for some of the special weapons to work. And this time around, because there's no gamepad to have to rely on, you can just, like, you know, use whatever, you know, weapons you can. But I think some special weapons from Splatoon 2 are going to make a return based on what I see with these Salmonid using, you know, the Stingray and the tentamissiles, even the one that makes the rain, you know, fall. I think, you know, these special weapons are going to be making a nice return here. Now, I know what you're about to point out, and it's that there's a different special weapon on this little slot right here. Now, I'm fairly certain I know what this is because I think there is a glimpse of this special weapon a bit later on in the trailer. But this weapon here, I think, is a modded version of the killer whale. Now, if you look closely, these little outlines right here, they kind of look like speakers. What else was a speaker? The fucking killer whale. So I think they're bringing back the killer whale in this sort of like 6-speaker kind of form. How it's going to work, no clue. But if I know anything about the killer whale, it's that it'll fucking kill you in an instant. But yeah, this is looking pretty interesting here. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. The crab special weapon. Now, this thing is actually looking like a bit of a powerhouse, as this is what looks to be a mobile turret you can actually control. Now, if you look at the little text that says fire at will, you'll notice there are 2 button options here. And based on the control scheme for Splatoon over the years, you can either throw bombs or I guess shoot missiles from this little turret, or you can fire a more powerful version of your weapon and go rapid fire. So there are pretty much 2 approaches to how you can use this little special weapon from here on out. And God, this will turn the tides in battle. They only show the trigger version of this. They don't show any like bomb throwing or anything, but you can see based on that how rapid fire the weapon is going to be. Now, I slowed it down here so that we can all just have a closer look at what this weapon will look like and how it'll work. But given all of this, I think it'll be a pretty good addition to the game. Finally, we get a nice little montage of the Inklings teaming up together and throwing the last golden egg into the basket so they can meet their quota. And yeah, just like we were saying earlier, now you can actually throw the eggs into the basket itself. So if there's any last ditch effort that you have within the last 10 seconds and you're in range to throw these golden eggs, you can throw them now and it'll make it so much easier. And I think that is a really solid touch and a good quality of life feature to add to this mode. And, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for this. Finally, here in the very last part of the trailer, we get our first look at a new boss Salmonid. Now, we don't really know much about this one, and from the looks of it, he's just a fat-looking, chained-up Salmonid. But I have a theory, but it's a bit far-fetched. Now, I think if I remember correctly, when Splatoon 2 had a trailer for its story mode, they did a kind of a cutaway thing, kind of like how they did it here. Now, I get that Splatoon 3 is focusing more on this like extraterrestrial kind of creature that's in Inkopolis now, but if you really take a second to think about how this Salmonid is being portrayed here, I'm thinking this might have something to do more with the story mode than it does with Salmon Run in general. But who knows for sure? I could be wrong. That's just my input on it. But if this is a fucking boss Salmonid, I'm running for dear life if I ever encounter it. So you can bet on that. I mean, look at this motherfucker. Look at that damn snout. Look at that. Look at his fucking roar, man. Like, I don't know what the fuck to do with this guy. He just looks like a big ass, like a normal Salmonid at first. And then when you like take a closer look at him, he's just a big ass dude. Like, look at that. So, very interesting. Not sure what we can expect here with this one. I think it's something to do with the story mode, but I could be absolutely wrong. And if it isn't, that's perfectly fine. Salmon Run already looks pretty interesting as is. Okay, this isn't really related to anything in depth into the game, but if you look at the new logo for Salmon Run on the duct tape where it says Splatoon 3, I'm pretty sure right below it is Splatoon 2, because, you know, it's kind of like how they taped over it. I just thought that was a nice touch to point out, you know. Finally, we get a first look at our brand new release time. And I say release time because they didn't really set a date set in stone. It's more like it's going to release around the summer, kind of like the previous two games. And, you know, this is good because a summer release, right? Such a fun, energetic game is getting a summer release, and I'm looking forward to it. So far, I have no complaints about Salmon Run, and fuck, I think this is shaping up to be a really good game. And that concludes my in-depth analysis of Splatoon 3's Salmon Run trailer. Now, if I missed anything, please don't hesitate to put anything in the comments. You know, if I missed something, just let me know, and, you know, I'll know for next time. But this has definitely been a fun thing to do. I would love to shout out my good friend Paragon of Torna, who just hit 200 subscribers, so congratulations to him. And I really appreciate him for letting me use his gameplay footage I can use for like the intro and the outro for this. So, this has been me, your boy Scotch Tape, and I hope to see you all next time. See ya!